happening perhaps between police and the suspect. I'm going to pause for 1 second here and see if we can hear any of the commands. We're not giving our specific location because this, of course, is ongoing, and the goal right now immediately is to get this person in custody and then process the scene, which must be a tremendously difficult one for officers to do, considering that 6 of their fellow officers have been injured, we're told, though, with non-life-threatening injuries this afternoon, all beginning at 4:35. I hear yelling in the background. I don't know if you could hear that. And there have been multiple shots that I've heard over the past 2 minutes or so. I'm unsure if police are putting anyone into custody. My vantage point here is such that we're staying back, we're staying safe, but something is happening right now. The suspect and the police are engaging with one another. Incredibly tense situation, guys. You know, police keeping this community back from the scene. This is North Philadelphia. It is very dense here. A lot of folks live here. This is right off of Broad Street in North Philly. And here comes, look at this, a SWAT tactical vehicle arriving right now. I don't know if more officers are going to get out and engage with the suspect right now, but this is a second vehicle, a second tactical vehicle arriving at the scene here. This is a North Philadelphia section, the Tioga section of Philadelphia. I see one tactical vehicle with guns drawn, appear to be rifles, pointed at a home here, and that appears to be where the suspect is engaging with officers as we speak. I'm talking a chaotic, but obviously a controlled, somewhat controlled scene with police. I mean, this is what they do. This is what the SWAT team prepares for. Unfortunately, in today's day and age, with the type of weaponry and type of guns that people have access to, police have to respond in kind, and whoever's responsible for shooting 6 officers, of course, the SWAT team's going to get involved. And over the course of this afternoon, a very tense and scary situation happening, quite frankly. Police have continued to engage this suspect. We don't know if anyone else is in the house with him. We know it's a male suspect inside. Police were trying to serve a warrant. I believe I keep hearing some type of, it sounds like gunfire. It's coming, sounds like a little bit further down. Officers are sort of moving their positions here, and you see some officers running across the street. Our photojournalist is going to keep a shot up, but we're not going to give you specific details as to exactly where this is in case whoever is involved in all of this happens to be watching our broadcast. But over the past hour now, continued gunfire, sporadic, but continued, between police, the Philadelphia SWAT team, and the suspect or suspect inside a home here in North Philadelphia. So Yuki and Natasha, I don't know exactly what the picture is. I'm being told that they're opening, you might be able to notice, they're opening a police van right now. I'm not sure if they have someone in custody, but officers right here with shotguns, it appears to be, maybe loading someone into a police vehicle right now. We're trying to get you visuals for that.
Hey, Greg, when you heard those
shots in the past,
Greg, when you heard those shots, do you know if they were coming from that SWAT team that we are looking at right now, or was it too difficult to tell because the one member of the SWAT team on the top of that vehicle has not moved his hands or his eyes away from his weapon pointed at that house? I was just curious if you could hear where those shots were coming from, if it was from that SWAT team or not.
Exactly, Yuki. So that SWAT member on top of that tactical vehicle obviously has a rifle pointed exactly where the threat is. I cannot tell with my eyesight from this position. We are close, but we are not close enough to tell exactly who has been firing, whether it's been police, whether it's been the suspect or suspects, or whether it's been both. But we have heard gunshots, and now we can see some officers here are getting into their vehicles, putting on some gear. and we're not sure if the situation is coming to a close.
As a matter of safety, we're going to try to back these vehicles
Okay, so
out.
Thank you, sir. So Philadelphia police are moving back the
cars out of this street. Back the cars. These can move on this side.
Going live, can we just do this real quick?
Yeah.
the Philadelphia command staff here moving the vehicles back as a matter of safety, they're saying. So we are going to, of course, just be careful here and back up a little bit.
Nathan 108, straight forward.
So, Greg, we see that they're obviously moving
So as we
yeah, they're moving the perimeter there. We can see that they're moving the scene, moving you guys back, obviously, just to make sure that you stay out of the way of any gunfire. Have you heard, you said you heard yelling at some point, as well as some other rounds of gunfire just a short time ago. Is there a police negotiator there on the scene who is talking to this suspect or suspects? Is that what we believe is playing out at this point, or do you have any more insight on that?
Well, Natasha, I can tell you that it appeared about 10 minutes ago there was someone yelling commands. I could not specifically hear what the commands were, but someone yelling commands on a loudspeaker. I would assume that might have been a police negotiator trying to communicate with whoever was inside of this vehicle. But as you can see, officers now trying to remove some of the vehicles here from this location. Commander, can you give us any type of update? Is it over?
This is an active, live situation.
An active live.
It's a matter of public safety. As a matter of fact, I would appreciate it if you got on the sidewalk.
Sure thing, sir. So I was just told by one of the commanding officers here, this is an active, live situation, and they're asking us for our safety to, of course, back up. We're going to comply with those requests, so there might be some camera movement here in just a minute as the police move back the scene slightly. So this is where the community has gathered, of course. This is where the media has gathered. But I'm told seconds ago, this is an active, live situation. Still ongoing. It does not appear that a suspect or suspects has been placed in custody, but you can see right here, if Matt, you could just sort of, we're going to go off the shoulder, we're going to move the camera briefly here, so apologize for the movement, but you can see what's happening now. So officers are moving some of the vehicles and trying to keep us and the public in safety, in safe situations. I have not heard gunfire in the past 10 minutes or so, but you can see multiple vehicles being moved back here. Officers sort of dispersing, or at least moving their locations. These were all the officers that you're seeing who were sort of stationed by one of the homes near the scene, some plainclothes and many in uniform. As officers now are moving back their vehicles, I'm told, like I just mentioned, this is an active live situation, but from my interpretation of this, it might be coming to a close. The reason I say that is the officers who were in defensive positions are no longer in those positions. I see a white van. If Matt, you could show that with the back door open. I do not know if they will load the suspect. We have not heard any commands from SWAT members at the Philadelphia Police Department in the past few minutes. We have not heard gunfire, which I can tell you is a relief. And officers are moving their vehicles from this scene, which appears to mean that it's safe to move these vehicles. If there was active fire, of course, officers would not be doing this. So this might be, at least through my interpretation right now, as this is a fluid situation. It might be coming to an end. My colleague Joe Holden has been using his resources and his sources within the Philadelphia Police Department at the Criminal Justice Center to gather as much as he can from his perspective and with his sources. I want to bring Joe Holden in live now with what he's learned. Joe, right here it appears it may be wrapping up. What have you heard?
Well, Greg, let's keep this fluid, and please jump in when you have to, because I know you are where everything is breaking right now. But according to a source in the department, the count now is 7 Philadelphia and or injured. 6 from sustaining gunshots, and the 7th one would be the officer involved in responding and somehow caught up in a car crash on the way to that scene. Emphasis is on the fact that all of these wounds have been described to me to be minor and non-life-threatening. Let's also talk about what is going on at your scene right now, according to my sources in the command center, who are trying to get to the bottom of this and understand better how to resolve this situation. Right now, police are prepared to use whatever type of either vehicle and or SWAT or tactical sort of vehicle to try and get into that building, that residence, if they have to. That doesn't mean they're going to. Another breaking detail we've confirmed through sources is that this person that police are trying to bring into custody has at times apparently live streamed part of what is going on his end of all of this. You heard right. Philadelphia police confirming that the individual was at some point live streaming his end of this ordeal. We are really rapidly trying to figure out what social media service that was happening on, and my source in the department tells me up until 2 minutes ago they were still working on trying to shut that down and make sure that they could put an end to that live stream broadcast. Greg, but again, 7 Philadelphia police officers either wounded or injured. We use the word wounded when someone sustains a gunshot wound, and injured from other types of injuries. It is 7. There's a car crash involved in one of those, and then the remaining 6 were apparently sustained during this gun battle. That, according to a high-ranking source, continues even as I speak. Greg.
Joe, thank you very much for that information, and right here to paint the picture as to what's gone on near the actual shooting scene right now. In the past, you saw it live, past 5 minutes or so, this entire street right here in the North Philadelphia section, the Tioga section of Philly, was lined with Temple Police and Philadelphia Police vehicles. They've since moved those vehicles back. There were officers lining one of the buildings here in a tactical defense position. Those officers have dispersed, but what has not changed is that black SWAT tactical vehicle with the armed Philadelphia SWAT member and his rifle pointed at the suspect's home, or at least the home where this suspect is located. We do see that Philadelphia police van, its doors wide open. That is often how suspects are transported after they're placed in custody. We do not know if that suspect is placed in custody, but as Joe Holden just mentioned, and as you just heard, his sources are reporting that this person was live streaming this up until about 3 or 4 minutes ago. That's not an indication as to whether or not the broadcast stopped because he was placed in custody. It does not appear that anyone has come out of this area. We have not heard, which is the great
a very, very dangerous situation. Greg and our crew members and all the crew members out there. We've got lots of media out there as well. We just want everybody to stay safe. We don't know where these bullets could end up. They don't have names, as police always say.
Exactly why one of the officials told our Greg Argos this is, quote, an active, live situation. And it still is. It still is. There's no end in sight at the moment. Greg has moved a little bit further down, as have members of the community, away from the scene, because as you said, Natasha, and as the authorities have said, if you're in the line of sight, the government can see you as well. And stray bullets have no eyes. They just go. They just go, and someone could get hurt. 7 officers have been hurt thus far.
7 officers hurt. One of them, we believe, was responding to the scene and may have been injured in a car accident of some type, but 6 officers definitely sustained non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. The bulk of those officers have been taken to Temple University Hospital. That is pretty much headquarters at this point for high-ranking police officials. Commissioner Richard Ross is still heading there to the scene. We understand Mayor Kinney will be there, DA Larry Krasner, other top police officials are there as well, and family members, of course, of these officers have have been rushing there to the hospital as well. So we're awaiting a press conference which will shed more light on exactly what happened there in that 3700 block of North 15th Street earlier today. Narcotics officers who were serving a warrant, a service warrant of some kind.
And there's FOP.
That's how this all started.
President John McNesby right there, still gathering information, still trying to figure out what is going on and waiting himself for the officials and family members there at the hospital. And our Greg Argos, I understand, has heeded the officers' request by moving back, way back. And Greg, how far back are you now? And give us the latest from your situation. I see they're putting up the tape.
Yeah, well, you can see the police tape is being placed right behind us. We did check with the commanding officer. He has confirmed we are safe, especially on this side, which is the west side of the street. And that's because the shooter, we're told by that same commanding officer, is armed with a rifle. And rifle rounds can go very far, and they are very accurate. We were told earlier one of the suspects' bullets did go down this street. It was not while, I want to reiterate, it was not while we were here, thank God, but they are moving the public. You can see on this side of the street is their concern because that is in the rifle's range. And so members of the community, though, are refusing to leave their homes. They have the right to stay in their homes, of course, but we as members of the media are heeding this warning and we're staying safe, of course. You know, we want to provide you the latest information. The commanding officer tells us we are in a safe spot right now, so we will continue to report what is going on. A very tense situation, one that is still active and still live. According to that commanding officer, a suspect barricaded apparently inside a home about 2 blocks or so from where I'm standing. I'm not going to give my exact location because, as Joe Holden was reporting, this person uses social media, perhaps is watching television, and was streaming this apparently live on some type of social media app as this was all unfolding. Right now, the terrible news is that 6 officers have been shot.
That police have set to ensure that citizens, media, etc., cannot come anywhere relatively close so that they could be hurt. So that's that outer perimeter you're looking at right now. Great shot.
Of course, you mentioned that they cannot force people to evacuate, so this is still a dangerous and fluid situation.
No, it is very much so, Tanya. And you know, having been down this road, you can only do your best. You can't force someone out of the house. Mm-hmm. So this is where those communication skills of police officers really come in handy, to explain that it's really in their best interest and to help them evacuate as quickly as possible and as safely as possible, and ensure then that as soon as the risk is mitigated, that they will be escorted back to their home. That's the key part right here. Make sure that that area is clear of any kind of collateral damage so that police can take complete charge of that situation and open up those lines of communication so that hopefully they can mitigate this without any more shots and they can dissolve this threat.
And what's so extraordinary is Drika was saying that she could hear some of those negotiations taking place. That's how close she is, which sounds rather terrifying, and I don't know how safe that is. But Paul, in a situation like this, police know that this shooter has fired many rounds, multiple rounds. Witnesses report hearing hundreds of gunshots. So what does that tell you about the ammunition capacity of this suspect?
Well, the biggest part about that, Tanya, is that, and I'm not questioning the validity of what any of the witnesses have said, but having done this for just about 40 years now, I can tell you that when you hear gunfire, it's a traumatic event. Mm. And for a civilian to hear that, you know, what may sound like 100 may not have necessarily been 100. And you've got that huge adrenaline rush that's going through everyone in the neighborhood right now, and that's more than understandable. So I don't want to say that you really have to take it with a grain of salt, but you have to understand that people are in a traumatic situation, so you don't necessarily know for sure that 100 rounds that came off was really 100 rounds.
Sure.
You just know that what they said, though, Tanya, means that they heard them in succession, which is telling police the type of weapon or weapons that the individual may in fact possess. That's the key part that they take from that.
And there's no way to gauge then when, for instance, he may be out of ammunition, when it may be safe for them to storm the locale.
You're absolutely correct. Now, part of that, though, Tanya, goes back to the genesis of this investigation where, from what I understand, shortly after 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, narcotics officers were attempting to serve a warrant at that house, which would tell us that narcotics officers had intelligence of the individual or individuals and the house. Typically, that means that they've already done surveillance on that house and those individuals, so it's not like they're going to go in there blind.
Right.
So they probably have a good amount of information right now, which will assist them in good, positive lines of communication with the individual, with the barricaded suspect, to hopefully mitigate this expeditiously.
All right. Well, once again, this remains a fluid situation. Thank you so much, Paul Violas, for filling us in on exactly what's going on a tactical level right there on the ground as we speak. Thank you so much, Paul.
My pleasure, Tanya.
For continued coverage of the shooting in Philadelphia, we're going to turn now to our CBS station there, KYW.
Near that area, and at some point, we don't know, we believe that some parts of Temple University is still in a lockdown mode. We had heard that earlier, so we do believe that is still likely the case because the situation is still not resolved yet, so they're not going to release that lockdown until they know that they can release folks to leave and be safe.
And fortunately, Temple University Hospital is just minutes away from this situation. They do amazing work there. Einstein is not too far away, and the injured, the wounded have been taken to both of those hospitals. We're waiting to hear from Police Commissioner Richard Ross, who is getting the information he needs. He's on his way to the hospital. Mayor Kenny also is on his way, if they are not there already, and we just have not heard from them. But our Kimberly Davis is on the scene, and we will check in with her in a matter of moments.
Yeah, and we are hearing, again, this is a negotiation that is taking place there in this neighborhood that we're looking at right now, where these SWAT team members are, where there are several, police officers, scores of police officers there in that neighborhood. This is an active request, not even a request at this point, just begging this gunman pretty much to try to come out of the house, to resolve this as peacefully as possible at this point so that no other action has to be taken. So right now we understand the gunman is still in the house. Police are still engaging him, trying to convince him to surrender peacefully so that they can resolve this situation in a peaceful way. Now, sadly enough, it does not appear that he would even be threatened by this, because he's continued to engage them in some kind of gun battle up until a short time ago. So there's still been gunfire from the very beginning of this scene at 4:30 when the narcotics unit that went there to issue this warrant. They took fire at that point. As we know now, 6 police officers were shot or wounded. 5 have been shot, 1 wounded, responding to the scene. All non-life-threatening injuries, thankfully. But again, police are right now urging this suspect to please surrender to us, surrender to police, trying to resolve this as peacefully.
It appears that police have also been similarly concerned about the high rate of gun arrests that have happened on the streets this summer. They have not seen gun arrests this high in quite some time. In fact, my one source, a staff inspector, told me that they were nearing the entire gun arrest total from 2018 just now. So this is an extremely hot situation for Philadelphia police, as those on the ground are again confronted with a serious set of circumstances, one that has become violent for the brothers and the sisters of the Philadelphia Police Department, where 6 are wounded in a shootout with at least 2 people who sources say were being sought for an active warrant related to some type of narcotic investigation. Greg.
And Joe, as you mentioned, I mean, for the viewers here who don't live in the city of Philadelphia but are watching us perhaps from some of the surrounding areas, we are in a dense city, of course. This is North Philadelphia, highly populated, and over the past now almost exactly 3 hours,
to take another look again, because it seems to be where Philadelphia police are directing the information, at least at Twitter, is that, let's see, the latest tweet just came out a minute ago from Sergeant Eric Grip. It appears to deal with parents and guardians of children from Shake, Rattle, and Roll Learning Center on North Broad and Precious Babies Daycare on Erie. Your children can be picked up from 3643 Germantown Avenue on the bus out front. So passing that along, I hope our web team is listening as well, that Eric Grip is saying apparently children caught in the middle of all of this with the lockdown. There's information coming out from the Philadelphia Police Department right now about how you can be reunited with your children. And just take a breath and think about that for a minute, that parents were unable to see their children while all of this played out. There is so much to unpack with what is going on tonight in North Philadelphia. And we've reported about a half hour ago, the president has been briefed on the events in our city tonight, and we are keeping an active eye on his Twitter account to see if there are any updates. The Criminal Justice Center is where the justices and the judges sit for two distinct courts in our city and county. It's the Court of Common Pleas, and it is Municipal Court, which in the other counties of Pennsylvania is known as Magisterial District Court. All of the documents, the warrants, all of the actions and activities that are lawfully executed in the city of Philadelphia are signed by judges and or justices out of this building. It has been relatively very quiet here tonight. Of course, things are done electronically, but it's been quiet from this position where I've been for the longest time, and we just set up shop here because it was the easiest way to electronically get in touch with sources in the police department, and of course the number of made it known that he is a good partner in crime, partner fighting crime with the Philadelphia Police Department in making sure that they have a good working relationship. So we're trying to pass along as much information realistically as possible.
Today, officers were serving a narcotics warrant in a house in the 3600 block of North 15th Street. They had already entered the premises and got towards the rear, the kitchen area, when gunfire erupted. The shooter fired multiple rounds. Officers returned fire, many of whom had to escape through windows and doors to get from a barrage of bullets. Right now, we can tell you that there are 6 police officers who were struck by gunfire. Thankfully, all of them are in stable condition. They were struck throughout their body. One officer sustained a gunshot wound, a grazed wound to his head. Thankfully, that was all that was. Got an officer shot in the arms, got officers shot in various parts of their body, but fortunately, everybody's going to be okay. We have 3 here. We have 3 at Einstein. We have a couple officers that were actually injured responding to the scene. I will tell you, having been at that scene for the last couple of hours, trying to talk to this male, he continues to fire rounds out of the window. So this situation is in no way resolved. I wanted to come and give you some kind of update to see, let you know where we are, but we are trying to talk to this male, trying to let him know that he can end this peacefully now. We've called him multiple times. He has picked up the phone a couple times, but he has not answered. So we've been trying to work with a family member, but right now we have not been successful. Despite several attempts to talk to him, both on a loudspeaker, on a bullhorn, and on telephone, we have not been able to make contact with him thus far. We're trying to get him to come out peacefully, but right now he refuses to do so. I have to get back over to the scene. I will answer a few brief questions, and then the mayor might have some comment, and others might have comment, but right now I have to get back over because the critical thing to tell you that I did not tell you is I have, some situations where I'm worried about potential hostage situations, so we've got to get that resolved, all right?
Commissioner, can you tell us how the 2 officers who are inside, are they doing? Have you any insight into their well-being?
We believe they're okay, and I'm not going to say much more about that right now, out of concern for their safety right now. So we believe that this male is in a certain part of the building. I won't tell you where they are, where he is right now, so that I don't endanger the officers on the scene in any way. but it is a very volatile situation that is still unfolding. So as a result, there's but so much I can tell you about what's going on inside of that property, save for the fact that even when I was on scene, he fired multiple rounds, many of which that struck the SWAT truck and buildings across the street. And that's long after I got there, long after it started. So he was continued to fire. It is a grave concern to us, but we're trying to communicate to him that we want him out safely, even going as far as telling him that the officers are going to be okay and that there's nothing that we can't work through. But right now, we are not successful. So I'm going to get back over there. I'll answer just a few questions, and then I got to get back over there.
Have you spoken to any of the officers' families?
Just you're talking about the injuries. That's what I just went in there. So I didn't get a chance because of proximity to make it to Einstein. I'll get up there a little later. Thankfully, everybody's going to be okay. I did speak to all three that are here, and you know they're all in good spirits. But you know we're concerned about this whole situation.
Commissioner, do you think there's just one shooter?
Right now, we're not sure, and so I don't want to say that and be wrong. Nor from a tactical standpoint do we want to make that assumption.
Is there anyone in custody at this time?
There were people who were taken into custody initially, okay? And there may be even someone in custody inside. But right now what we know is this male is holed up inside, and he is not, since I've come here in the last 20 minutes or so, there's no indication that he's trying to surrender right now. We do know he's still alive. There's no question about that because of the shots that keep ringing out. So we're very concerned about, you know, the neighborhood. We're very concerned about our police officers. But again, we're doing everything within our power to get him to come out. All right?
Commissioner, you said you've been in touch with his family. What are they saying about this?
Well, I mean, what we're just trying to do right now is do as much as we can to resolve this peacefully. And so without getting into all of that at this point, we're trying to use and leverage everything possible. Multiple attempts to talk to him by myself and others, trying to assure him that I'm out front, you know, that he has the highest assurance he's not going to be harmed when he comes out. But normally I wouldn't even take this posture, but I got police officers in a very volatile situation. And, you know, I've got to be where my people are. That's the bottom line. So I have to get back over there. Mayor, I don't know if you want to say something.
Well, I had the opportunity to speak to the 6 officers. They're all in good spirits, and obviously it was a very traumatic experience for them. I was talking to one of the officers who had the graze wound to the head, and he had 2 little boys that looked like they were 9 or 10 years old, 8 or 9 years old, and kept on thinking about how their lives would have changed just with a little bit more difference in space. Our concern right now is for them and for their families, and we'll sort out all the other stuff once the scene has been resolved over at the shooting where the shooting took place, and we're thankful. I'm a little angry about someone having all that weaponry and all that firepower, but we'll get to that another day. It's all about the officers and their families right now, and God bless them and God save them all. Thank you.
You've been listening to a live news conference at the hospital with Philadelphia Commissioner Richard Ross, Mayor Jim Kenney. Mayor Kenney there saying he's spoken to the officers, especially the one who received a graze wound to the head, saying his 2 sons were there and how dramatically their lives would have changed if something different had happened. But they are all okay. And as the commissioner was saying, there is no indication that the person in the row home is about to give up.
Yeah, he said specifically, situation in no way is resolved. He said, I've got to get back to my people. He's heading back to that scene. This is still a very, very dangerous and volatile situation for the police officers there at that scene and also for this community as night falls. He said that this suspect is still firing at police. They fired at police while the commissioner was out there hitting a SWAT truck and other buildings in that area. So this is definitely not a situation that's under control at this point. Again, just to recap, officers were serving a narcotics warrant at about 4:30 this afternoon. They had already entered the unit. From what the commissioner is saying, some of the officers had to run from gunfire after the suspect began firing at them, and they were able to get out of the house. 6 officers struck by gunfire, all in stable condition, struck in various parts of their body, according to the commissioner. 3 are at Temple, 3 at Einstein. Apparently, the suspect continues to fire at officers, and that is why this is of such grave concern to police and the commissioner. You heard the emotion in his voice that he has got to get back to that scene. He's got to get back to his people and back to this community. community because they want to get this situation resolved as quickly and as peacefully as possible.
And he said they're talking to a single male. He did not say if there was, didn't want to say if there was another shooter. He didn't want to say that at all, but they have called this single male multiple times, and he has not answered recently. Let's check in now. Let's go back out in the field and check in Joe Holden. I believe we're going to Joe now. Okay, Joe.
Yeah, Yuki and Natasha, yeah, and listening to Commissioner Ross there, I mean, we've worked with him for years. You know that he is he wants his hands in the operations and the nuances of these investigations. And to hear that he is personally negotiating with the man on the other end of that phone is the commissioner that I've come to know, and I'm not surprised at all at the information he's revealed and the timeline. So candid he has presented that at 4:30 this afternoon it was a call after that warrant service, and then from there those officers entered and were in the rear of that structure in the kitchen area where the suspect, police say, just started shooting. Police exchanged gunfire, and while trying to escape, as you've mentioned, through windows and doors to get the safety, 6 were hit in the process. The biggest emphasis, though, and I've pushed this out and I think it bears repeating numerous times, is that the commissioner says everyone is going to be okay. We can only cross our fingers and pray that that will be the resounding statement from here on out for the rest of the night. So dusk is upon us right now. It is 8:10. 8:08 make that, and we are just about 3 hours and 38 minutes into this chaos, and police are now concerned about a line of storms that is tracking in from the west. And I understand Chief Meteorologist Kate Bilo is going to be joining us right now to give us some timeline, Kate, on when police might be dealing with yet now another piece of this jigsaw puzzle.
Thanks so much, Joe. Yeah, it does look like a line of storms is going to be moving in here within the next half hour or so. Now, we don't have severe weather, but there have been reports of lightning and heavy rain, which of course just could put a damper on things or could start to delay the process that police are going through in this active situation right now. Let's take a look at some active radar on Storm Scan 3. Just want to update you on the latest that we're seeing out there with this line of storms that's moving in. They're still far to the west, so nothing imminent moving into the city of Philadelphia, but you can see a line has been gradually pushing south and eastward here across portions of Bucks and Montgomery counties. As we zoom in, you can see some pretty heavy rain, and we've just had a few lightning reports back into Chester County around Euclid Township, one up near Schwenksville. Again, this is still pretty far away. I've put a locator on the map here so you can see the area that we're dealing with. Again, in North Philadelphia there around the Tioga section of the city, that's where that gleaming red box is. You can see storms are still well north of there and well to the west, but that's something that police are definitely going to be keeping an eye on, and we'll keep you posted if those storms move a little bit closer to your area or to this active scene, of course, in the city. We're going to send it back to Yuki and Natasha at the news desk.
Okay, Kate, thank you very much. Sunset, I believe, was just after 7 o'clock, and these are the conditions that the police are working on right now. That's the scene from Chopper 3. Sunset was around 7:15, and now, almost under the cover of darkness, the Philadelphia Police Department is trying to apprehend this suspect in North Philadelphia. This looks a little bit lighter because I believe we have irised up, obviously, to make it look so you can see what is going on, and you can see the public with their phones out in this day and age of social media. This is what happens, and the police are keeping them back as far as they can from the situation there in North Philadelphia.
Yeah, the police are still saying this is a very dangerous situation. This suspect is in no way looking like he is trying to surrender anytime soon. Still firing at police, even up to, what, 25 minutes or so ago. This is still a very active scene, a very volatile scene there that's playing out. The police commissioner, again, even stressing that he's worried about potential hostage situation even, because the suspect, again, is in this house, as well as 2 of the bicycle strike force officers, we understand, according to CBS News, and they have 3 total prisoners that they've apprehended as well. So there are at least 6 people inside this home at this point, and at some point, various points of the house, first floor, second floor, not exactly sure exactly where everyone is, but there are still a number of people in that house including this suspect. So they're trying to get in touch with him via the phone, via bullhorns there on the scene. Still in no way is there any indication that he is trying to surrender to police peacefully.
4 people were rescued from this home, and they were obviously frightened, very shook up, very, very concerned and very scared. But they are safe. They are safe, and this standoff continues. Under the cover of darkness, we saw a SWAT vehicle with a spotlight on it pointing probably at that house. We cannot see it from here because it is probably 2 or 3 blocks down this street you are looking at live. But they are on the situation, and they are on it, and they once again will try to solve this peacefully. And it's going to take as long as it takes. The commissioner had to leave the press conference because he had to get back to his people.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. He had to get back to his people to make sure no one else or no one gets hurt.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he said. He said, I've got to wrap this up. I've got to get back with my people. I've got to be with my people. So he was there at Temple University Hospital. 3 of the officers were taken there. 3 others are at Einstein Hospital. All are stable, thankfully. We know that family members have rushed to these hospitals to be with them. We have seen them scurrying into the hospitals throughout the afternoon and into the evening. So we know that they are being monitored at this point by doctors, and their family also holding vigil there for them as well and making sure that they're okay. But again, the commissioner stressing that this situation is in no way resolved. Nearly, what, 4 hours after it all transpired, and after it all started at 4:38 or so this afternoon.
We're coming up on 8:15 in the East End. We have to give you a programming reminder that Big Brother will be seen and is being seen on the CW Philly, our sister station, as we speak. As we continue our live coverage, 6 Philadelphia police officers shot, all doing okay. Once again, CBS News confirming 2 officers still inside the home. We're waiting for more information about what's going on in that home, and we have no idea how long this is going to take, and we don't expect to have any idea until it happens, and it will happen live right in front of you.
Yeah, and this is another concern, Yuki. You were talking about just the growing crowd there at the scene, despite the fact that police are urging people to please stay away from this area. Please do not come in this area and impede this investigation, impede this negotiation that's now underway with this suspect inside. So, you know, you're still seeing the crowd of people who are gathering just to try to take this all in or observe what's happening there in that neighborhood. And it's still a very dangerous situation for them as well.
And if you're in that neighborhood and maybe watching us, and you're in that neighborhood and in that particular block where all this is going on, you see houses on the right, row homes on the right, row homes on the left, stay away from the windows. Just stay away from the windows and just sit until there is an all-clear sign. But that does not seem to be happening anytime soon. Let's get back down to that scene right now and check in with our Greg Argos with any late information. Greg?
Yuki, Natasha, good evening. As the commissioner just mentioned a few minutes ago, there is 1 man holed up inside this home with no indication he is trying to surrender. Officers have made contact, the commissioner says, with this shooter. He's picked up the phone multiple times but has not spoken with those negotiators here. We're in the North Philly section here, in Tioga section of North Philadelphia, I should say, where 2 officers, according to CBS News, are still in that home. Fortunately, the 6 that were shot, according to the commissioner, they have non-life-threatening injuries. 3 of those officers were rushed this afternoon around 4:35 to Temple University Hospital. 3 others rushed to Einstein. A total of 6 with gunshot wounds. But once again, the important piece of information tonight is that none of those 6 have life-threatening injuries at this moment. Now, we want to backtrack a little bit to exactly when this all happened. The commissioner telling us this was a call for a warrant arrest. Officers entering this home here in North Philadelphia. They entered the home, went to the rear of the house, which is where the kitchen is located, and that is where they encountered that suspect who opened fire. The commissioner saying officers trying to leave the line of fire any way they could, some running out of the door they came from, others jumping through windows. But when all was said and done, 6 officers were shot. Once again, CBS News sources confirming that there are 2 officers and possibly some prisoners inside, as well as the suspect inside the house at this time. That is why this is still a very active scene, as the sun has set here in North Philadelphia. And without that sunlight, of course, the Philadelphia SWAT team can bring out their spotlights. But even with those, it makes this investigation and this scene much more difficult to contain. If I want to step out of the way here and just show you what we have here at this scene. We're not giving our exact location, of course, but a very large group of folks from this neighborhood have gathered, basically going past police tape, inching forward. This is still an active scene. The commissioner basically saying, once again, this man is holed up inside and there is no indication he is trying to surrender. But you still have at least 100 people from this neighborhood inching closer and closer to where the Philadelphia SWAT team is located. And that is just simply, quite frankly, it's a dangerous thing to do. But that is what's happening right now. If there is any silver lining in any of this, I want to reiterate, those 6 officers who were injured in the line of duty today, they have non-life-threatening injuries. The commissioner saying one of those officers suffered a gunshot wound, grazed to the head. Just how fortunate it was that it was simply a graze to the head, but still all 6 being rushed to trauma centers here in North Philadelphia. Those folks all expected to make a full recovery, which is great news tonight. As police, the Philadelphia SWAT team, and countless officers here, of course, are continuing to engage, trying to communicate with this suspect, who the commissioner says, once again, has no indication, no desire to surrender. Yuki and Natasha.
Okay, Greg, thank you so much. Another tweet just went out from the Philadelphia police, and they say, as you have mentioned, officers continue to implore the suspect to surrender. They also say this can end without any further violence. Continue to avoid the area. Continue to avoid the area. And I do believe a little earlier we played the 911 call. I'm going to ask my producers in the control room, do we want to play that right now? Is that okay? Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to stay with this live picture as you are listening to this dramatic call for help. It may be a little tough to understand, but I'm sure you will understand what you will hear. Let's do it.
Car stand by, 3700 North 15th Street, shots fired at police. Shots fired at police inside the property. Inside the property. Possibly, enter officers, we got a possible barricade. Cars use caution, please, and respond. It's right there. Stand by. Car stand by. Second assist. Shots fired inside. Crazy 101 in. The shot's still ringing off. Give me SWAT ASAP. Long gun ASAP. Radio. I got an officer shot radio. All right, so I put SWAT. Radio, listen. Take the 101 in. I got an officer shot at dislocation in the leg. 121, please send additional cars immediately. Additional cars were still shots fired. I got officer shot at dislocation, like lower extremities of further transit. Car stand by. It's going to be a 36. We got several shots, officers. We got an officer down. I need long gun SWAT. We have an officer shot, and they're still being shot at.
Well, this is extremely difficult to hear, Yuki. As you can imagine, that's the 911 call that came in right after officers responded to this scene in the 3700 block of 15th Street there in Nicetown-Tioga. You could hear the officers, just the pain in their voice. Officers shot, shots fired, shots fired. They were taking fire. Even at that moment when they were calling, you could hear the gunshots if you listened in the background there of that 911 call. They were calling for a barricade. They were calling for SWAT immediately, saying that officers were shot in the lower extremities, really just giving us a very vivid look inside that situation and how volatile it was at that moment.
We heard there was an arm wound. We heard one officer had a grazed wound to the head, but he is doing okay in the hospital. Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney spoke with him and spoke with his family. He spoke with all the families of the injured officers tonight during this situation, and it is, once again, no end in sight. We saw in our live picture there on the left, in the smaller box that you were looking at, some of the officers talking to community members. Everyone is being peaceful and being orderly, and they have come up to the yellow crime scene tape. And I'm sure they have a lot of questions. They have a lot of questions just like we do. Yeah, this is their neighborhood. And you can see the police now still talking to them and trying to give them whatever information they have. They can't obviously reveal everything, but they are concerned, and the police are keeping the public back now at a safe distance.
Yeah, it's for their safety as well as the officers there who are on the scene, both inside that house still with this suspect and the ones who are outside as well, trying to control the situation. SWAT team members and tactical units there have been there with their guns trained on that house the entire time for the last several hours or so. We also understand we've been getting tweets in from officials, whether it's police, giving us an update. This is from former Vice President Joe Biden. Here is his tweet, which says, Dr. Biden and I send our prayers to the police officers injured today in Philadelphia and to their families who wake up every day knowing that their loved ones are walking into harm's way when they put on the badge. We're grateful for the selfless work they do to keep us safe. We also know that the White House and the President are monitoring the situation here in Philadelphia, as well as Governor Tom Wolf, Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf. He tweeted as well that all the resources that he can possibly provide, if necessary, are there for the Philadelphia Police Department, and he's monitoring the situation as well.
We are under the cover of darkness going on 4 hours now, just about 4 hours of this standoff, of this shooting, and you can see the only lights are maybe from a street light, from the street lights on the corner, the red light, a lamppost, the officers' lights on top of their vehicles, and the SWAT team does have a spotlight, we understand, on the house that they are centering on, where this male victim, single male victim, is holed up. The commissioner would go as far as saying that there was another shooter, but they are talking to this. They were talking to this single male victim, single male shooter rather, in the house, and he has not returned their latest calls. So the situation continues. The standoff goes on.
Yeah, they're still trying to get in touch with even his family at this point. Anyone at this point who could possibly get in his ear and be of any influence to get him to surrender peacefully, that is what they're going to do. That's why the negotiation is being handled this way and so carefully. And you see that they have not rushed in to try to breach the doors or do anything to compromise anyone's safety. 2 police officers are still inside that house at this point, and that is certainly not unnoticed by police. That's why they're handling this very, very carefully, very sensitively, for the sake of those folks in the house as well as the community outside.
Speaking of the community, I'm sure the department has a group of people, men or women, who may be even interviewing some of the people in the community about who this person might be, if he is indeed a member of the community, because we don't know that. We don't know that for sure. This could have been just a random entry into a house. We don't know if it was his house or not, but we do know that the situation continues, and it doesn't look like it's going to be over anytime soon.
Yeah, we know that Police Commissioner Richard Ross had been at Temple University Hospital, where 3 of the officers were taken. We heard from him a short time ago at that brief press conference. He kept it brief. He gave us the bullet points of this story and of the investigation at this point, and then he said, I've got to be with my people. And he left that scene at Temple University Hospital. He returned. Likely he is somewhere on this scene. There's no doubt about it, because he is not going to leave this scene with a situation like this that is still very volatile and still playing out right now.
We don't know how much ammunition this person has, and even the commissioner said before he got there was a lot of gunfire. He wasn't there at the very moment like his people were, as the other officers were, so he missed a lot of the gunfire and a lot of the action, but he heard about it. It went on for quite a while our reporters were there. Greg Argos, he heard gunfire from time to time. We saw people running and scrambling back and forth, officers as well, taking cover, getting in their stance, their crouching stance, their defensive stance. But it continues. Things seem to have been quieted down just a little bit now. Maybe it's because of the cover of darkness. Maybe it's because of the negotiations that might be going on. We're waiting to find out. We're waiting to find out as the situation continues. We're coming up on 8:30 here on the East Coast in Philadelphia, PA, and this all came over the scanner at around 4:30, 4:35.
So 4 hours into this active shooter situation, ultimately, because officers, as you heard the commissioner say earlier, they entered that unit and immediately pretty much came under gunfire, and they had to get out of the way. So many of them were able to scurry away and get get away from the gunfire. Sadly enough, 6 of them were not able to. 6 of them were struck by the gunfire, and we're told all of them are in stable condition right now, but they were struck in various parts of their body. So again, you see that the community there gathering. It's hard to tell people to stay away from a situation because, you know, there's a lot of, you know, they're inquisitive. They want to know what's happening. It's their neighborhood. And, you know, they want to know, are we safe? What's going on?
Let's find out what's going on and what's happening over at the hospital right now and check in with our Kimberly Davis. Kim?
Yuki and Natasha, good evening. We just got updated by Police Commissioner Richard Ross not too long ago, and he is telling us 3 of the 6 police officers who were shot are being treated here at Temple University Hospital. They are in stable condition at this hour, and the good news is they are expected to survive. But it was a very quick press conference because Commissioner Ross did have to get back to that very active scene. We're told that they are still in talks with that suspect, and he has no intentions on surrendering anytime soon. He described to us what it was like when those officers came under fire. Let's get straight to that video.
They had already entered the premises and got towards the rear, the kitchen area, when gunfire erupted. The shooter fired multiple rounds. Officers returned fire, many of whom had to escape through windows and doors to get from a barrage of bullets. Right now, we can tell you that there are 6 police officers who were struck by gunfire. Thankfully, all of them are in stable condition.
Now, he described some of those gunshot wounds. We're told one officer was struck in the arm, another was struck in the head, and another officer sustained a graze wound to his head or her head. But the good news is, again, they are all expected to survive. Commissioner Ross also says that he is concerned of a potential hostage situation. He also tells us he cannot confirm whether it is just one shooter. There could be multiple shooters, but again, this is all very fluid. All this information is coming in, and we will update you with new information as soon as it becomes available. Mayor Jim Kenney was also here for that press conference, and District Attorney Larry Krasner. Again, once new information becomes available, we will update you. For now, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Okay, Kim, thank you so much. Here's some new information as well. For the media and citizens from the Philadelphia Police Department, looking at their latest tweet, and they simply say, do not operate drones in the area of police operations. They obviously don't want anything to interfere with their operations and what they're trying to do tonight there in North Philadelphia. So that's very, very important.
Yeah, and it's very important, again, that they keep telling people to keep their distance ultimately. Do not come into this area. You know, stay away from this area. It's still a very volatile scene there, and this gunfire has erupted spontaneously and sporadically throughout the evening. You never know when it's going to erupt again. So that's why they're so concerned about neighbors in that area, about their own officers in that area who are trying to defuse this situation. This is very much a situation that is far from over.
Chào cả nhà nha. Ok, thì đây là chuyện xảy ra ở bên Philadelphia. Hiện tại như bây giờ có người bắn ở ra ngoài, và người đó hiện tại đang trốn ở phía trong ha. Hiện tại thì cảnh sát báo cho biết là có 6 người đã bị thương, 6 người cảnh sát đã bị thương vì chuyện này. Hiện tại ngay bây giờ bên đó là cái người mà bắn súng đó đang trốn ở phía trong cái nhà. Ở ngay chỗ này cảnh sát đang bao vây xung quanh và đang kêu gọi anh ta ra đầu hàng, nhưng mà anh ta không có ra đầu hàng. Cảnh sát cũng đang nói chuyện tìm cách để mà giải quyết chuyện này. Ngay bây giờ đó đã 4 tiếng ngoài đồng hồ rồi, từ hồi trưa cho tới bây giờ vẫn còn tiếp tục như vậy. Thì đây là họ nói báo cho mọi người sống ở xung quanh chỗ này đó là không có ai nên lại gần cái chỗ này ngay bây giờ, nên tránh xa một chút xíu. Tại vì cái người ở trong đang núp ở phía trong và bắn ra ngoài đang tiếp tục như vậy. Hiện tại ngay bây giờ thì theo họ đài họ báo cho biết là không có biết cái người trốn phía trong cầm súng có bao nhiêu đạn này kia thì không biết, và cũng không biết chắc chắn 100% là cái người ở phía trong đang trốn ở trên cái đây là cái nhà mà nó có nhiều cái tầng lầu trong đó, thì không biết là trốn ở trên tầng lầu nào nữa. Thì ngay bây giờ là đây là của đài CBS nha, đài CBS họ báo cho mình biết như thế nào xảy ra, và họ cũng nói luôn là ngay bây giờ là những người xung quanh ở chỗ đây thì họ báo cho biết là nên rời khỏi này kia, và cũng nói luôn là hiện tại đó là cơn bão đang đánh vô nha, bão có mưa đang đi tới chỗ này nữa. Bây giờ anh em đợi chút xíu, của đài CBS họ sẽ reconnect trả lời, họ sẽ một phần quảng cáo sẽ trả lời sau này. Anh em thấy ngay bây giờ rất là nguy hiểm nha. Good morning Mai Tuyết nha. Good morning Mai Tuyết, thì anh em thấy ngay bây giờ ở Mỹ cũng nguy hiểm lắm mà. Đi ra ngoài này kia đó thì phải cẩn thận đó. Rồi có người cầm súng rồi súng mới, cái chuyện này đang xảy ra bên đây thì tiếp tục nó kêu bằng ở Mỹ nó đang kêu bằng gặp trong cái tình trạng là nó cũng rất là sợ hãi khi mà đi ra ngoài đường này kia, đi vô trong mall thì hồi tuần rồi cũng có chuyện xảy ra, tới bây giờ cũng có chuyện xảy ra, thì đây tiếp tục họ báo cho mình biết như vậy. Ok, thì đây là của đài ABC họ báo cho mình biết về chuyện này. Hiện tại họ báo cho biết ngay cái chỗ này đó là xung quanh chỗ này cảnh sát lại đây bao đông nghẹt luôn, nhưng mà chưa có bắt được người ở phía trong đó. Chuyện này xảy ra từ hồi lúc 4 giờ 30 vào buổi trưa ngày hôm nay giờ địa phương ở bên Philadelphia, tới như bây giờ đã là 8 giờ rồi. Hiện tại ngay bây giờ thì đài họ đang đợi tụi chức trách ở bên đây để báo cho biết chuyện gì xảy ra kế tiếp. Anh em đợi chút xíu nha, để mình connect to different đài để cho anh em biết thêm chuyện này nó như thế nào ha. Ok, để mình nhảy qua đài NBC News mình xem coi họ có báo về cái chuyện này live trực tiếp không, để báo cho anh em biết luôn. Ngay bây giờ sẵn nói luôn là cái người bị bắt ở trong cái này đó, cái anh mà bị bắt đó thì hiện tại thì ảnh trốn ở trong nhà đó. Lúc mà cảnh sát nhào vô bắt này kia thì ảnh dùng súng bắn ra đó. Có tổng cộng là 6 người bị thương hiện tại ngay bây giờ. Và họ nói cho biết là mấy cái người cảnh sát mà bị bắn bị thương đó là họ kêu bằng không có bị bằng nguy hiểm cho lắm, chỉ có bị bắn rồi chở vô nhà thương thôi, không có phải nguy hiểm cho lắm. Ok, anh em đợi chút xíu nha, để mình connect vô trong đài khác để cho anh xem coi như thế nào sẽ. Ở Mỹ này hiện tại đó hồi tuần rồi đó thì có chuyện bắn ở Walmart, sau khi đó thì bắn Texas, ở Walmart Texas ở Ohio. À, mới đây ngay bây giờ là cái chuyện bắn ở bên Philadelphia, cho nên liên tiếp nhiều chỗ khác nhau làm người ta ngay bây giờ nói chung là hơi run một chút xíu đó. Khi đi ra đường này kia đó, nhất là đi tới những chỗ nào mà cái mall hay này nọ thì cảnh sát cũng nói luôn là mọi người phải cẩn thận á, be careful. Mới đây thôi cũng ở bên tiểu bang khác có cái chuyện là có đi vô trong mall, có người nhảy lên trên bàn la lên rồi tự tử chết gì đó, làm người ta cũng bỏ chạy quá trời luôn, tại vì trên người anh đó bị rớt xuống một cái vật, thì có nhiều người nói đó là súng, cho nên là ai cũng bỏ chạy là súng súng, chuyện xảy ra trong mall. Tới bây giờ thì ngày hôm nay là chuyện này nữa, cho nên ngay bây giờ thì căng thẳng nha. Giống như của đài họ nói với tỷ mình đi đâu mà mình biết có chuyện gì xảy ra đó, hoặc là mình nhìn thấy có cái không có tốt whatever going on, tốt nhất mình phải báo cho biết, rồi đó mình phải chặn lại, báo cho cảnh sát biết đó, nếu không thì tiếp tục rất là. Ok, anh em đợi chút xíu để mình bấm vô của đài CBS cho anh em xem nha, có báo cái gì không. Ok, thì ngay bây giờ tất cả của đài họ chỉ chiếu đi chiếu lại thôi nha. Họ đi chiếu lại, họ chưa có báo cho biết là kết cục nó như thế nào hay ra sao. Khi nào đài họ trở lại, họ báo thêm thì lúc đó Andy sẽ trở lại báo cho mọi người biết. Ngay bây giờ thì tụi đài nó chưa có trở lại nha, họ chưa có báo thêm. Ok, tới đây thì Andy tạm ngừng nha. Có gì để xê thời gian khi nào họ báo thêm cho mình biết thì mình sẽ báo lên cho mọi người như thế nào luôn. Ok, đợi có gì thì anh em nhớ subscribe, nhấn cái nút bell này kia để có gì khi Andy nó báo cho biết thì Andy báo lên mọi người xem thế nào ha. Chắc chút xíu nữa họ sẽ báo thôi, nhưng mà không muốn waste time ở trên YouTube, không có làm gì đâu. Ok, chúc gặp lại nha. Có gì họ báo mình sẽ báo anh em biết. Bye bye.